took the opportunities, controversial or not, to advocate pandemic policy with Donald Trump. Here they were at Trump Tower right after Trump's election in December 2016. Gates explaining he was pushing science and health policies at that very meeting.
I saw him at Trump Tower, I said, hey, science and innovation is a great thing. You should be a leader who drives innovation. And that conversation was about a broad set of things in energy, in health, in education.
People have all kinds of ideas. Few get a private audience with the president. And while Bill Gates is not out here telling everyone, I told you so, the evidence shows that in many ways, he did. Listen to Gates' prescient warnings from 2015.
We need to get going because time is not on our side. In fact, if there's one positive thing that can come out of the Ebola epidemic, it's that it can serve as an early warning, a wake-up call to get ready. If we start now, we can be ready for the next epidemic.
It was time to get ready. Many governments didn't listen or didn't want to spend the money. Gates specifically outlining the type of potential virus that would be most infectious. Notice how it eerily predicts parts of COVID transmission.
You can have a virus where people feel well enough while they're infectious that they get on a plane or they go to a market.
You yourself can be carrying it. You might not even know it. That'd be the worst thing in the world is to go to church to worship and to sit next to someone and infect them.
That was crucial knowledge. And regardless of the saying that you may have heard, knowledge actually is not always power. It really depends what people do with knowledge. Gates took his knowledge and he went back to meet with Donald Trump again. In 2018, he advocated the Trump administration get serious and back a universal flu vaccine. He tried to prod the president with a kind of flattery, saying a universal flu vaccine could be kicked off and energized by you, Mr. President. What a great legacy. Now, Gates later said Trump sounded interested, but there wasn't much progress. We can tell you by September of last year, Trump signed an executive order that created a flu vaccine task force, but it was headed by someone already on the job, Health Secretary Azar. And that effort didn't come with any legislation, let alone any new money to prepare for pandemics. Now, Gates also says Trump offered him a possible role as a science advisor, something Gates declined in favor of just actually offering the science advice publicly and privately that we're telling you about. Now, the government can take it or leave it. This is Gates' exact role today, and he's speaking out again now with advice for anyone who's listening, and it includes rebutting some of the newest claims by President Trump.
It's very irresponsible for somebody to suggest we can have the best of both worlds. What we need is the extreme shutdown so that in 6 to 10 weeks, if things go well, then you can start opening back up. It's very tough to say to people, hey, keep going to restaurants, go buy new houses. Ignore that pile of bodies over in the corner. Just, we want you to keep spending because there's some, maybe a politician who thinks GDP growth is what really counts.
That was a stark way to put it. Gates was saying that as the body count rose, but before videos and pictures like this went viral, the footage of the human wreckage of this virus in America, a country that has so much money but is reduced to scenes like this. Now, since Gates' expertise stands at the intersection of innovation, business, and public health, it's worth noting that he's one of the business titans emphasizing that while the economic toll is severe, that comes second to the challenge that cannot be reversed. This virus continuing to kill so many people.
It is really tragic that the economic effects of this are very dramatic. I mean, nothing like this has ever happened to the economy in our lifetimes. But money, bringing the economy back and doing money, that's more of a reversible thing than bringing people back to life.
Yeah. That is a fundamental piece of wisdom from a very rich man. Your life is worth more than all the money in the world. It echoes something that many already have admired about Bill Gates, that he embodies success without flaunting it. As the great Andre Benjamin once put it, Bill Gates don't dangle diamonds in the face of peasants when he's micro-softening the place. Consider your surroundings or you leave without a trace. The point is, real strength doesn't need to flaunt itself. And considering your surroundings is crucial for staying alive. That applies to staying safe right now, as well as preparing for the next pandemic. As Gates also explained back in 2015, as he would later try to warn Donald Trump, the medical science shows a path for what we all need to do. And with that in mind, tonight, Bill Gates gets the final word.
The problem was that we didn't have a system at all. In fact, there are some pretty obvious key missing pieces. We didn't have a group of epidemiologists ready to go. A large epidemic would require us to have hundreds of thousands of workers. The failure to prepare could allow the next epidemic to be dramatically more devastating than Ebola. It didn't get into many urban areas, and that was just luck. Next time, we might not be so lucky. It would spread throughout the world very, very quickly. If we start now, we can be ready for the next epidemic.
As coronavirus cases spread nationwide, join Savannah Guthrie, Hoda Kotb, and the NBC News team for facts, expert advice, and preparing for what's next. A primetime special report tonight at 10 on the networks of NBC News.
A pandemic that has turned.
If there are stay-at-home orders in states, fewer people will die. And we're talking about, possibly tens of thousands or more people, and that's the difference. I don't understand why social distancing, stay-at-home orders are not in place across this country, given the science is clear.
Yeah, I mean, Anderson, I think they should be. We've been talking about this, feels like for a couple of months now, essentially saying this and reminding people that, look, people's behavior in this country directly affects the health of people all over the country. How you behave affects me and how I behave affects you. We've been saying this for some time, and yet it still seems like there's been this sort of false balance that some of these states have been trying to strike between the economy and public health. One thing you say about the recommendations that have come nationally, even though two weeks and a day ago, that's when they started the 15-day pause. Many states have not sort of kept up with that. Even when they started that pause, I think Dr. Fauci knew for certain that it was going to be extended and now till April 30th. And then as you hear from Dr. Murray, that his projections count on that extending till the end of May. So that's 8 weeks from now, just to be clear, 8 weeks, not 4 weeks, and 8 weeks plus the 2 weeks we already had. That's 10 weeks, and yet you still have states that haven't even implemented it at this point. It's worrisome, and models are models. And, when you look at the background sort of levels of coronavirus in some of these states, frankly, and I'm curious what Dr. Murray says about this, but how do you even know? We really haven't done adequate testing in these places. And that, I don't want to belabor that point, but it seems like a huge problem. We don't know what's going to happen in those states. A week and a half ago, Michigan had 15 cases. Now they're considered one of the hot spots, Detroit. It can be explosive in some of these places.
Yeah, Dr. Murray, I don't know why any governor would be, lulled into a sense that it's not a big issue in their state, given the fact that the testing has been so screwed up this entire time. There's not enough tests out there, no matter what the president may say, even on Sunday, saying he hadn't really heard any complaints about testing lately. Are the numbers adequate? To base a projection without testing, are the numbers accurate?
So because of all the concerns about variation in testing rates across states, who gets tested, we haven't really paid much attention to the case numbers. Our forecasting is really driven by looking at what we think is stronger, not perfect, but stronger evidence, which is people dying from COVID-19. And the reason is that in settings with limited tests, they're preferentially being given by the health staff to the sickest patients. So we believe those more, and those are a better basis for coming up with these forecasts. So, we shouldn't be lulled into a false sense of security if there are low numbers of cases.
But if we had better testing, that would be good for you in terms of gathering data and accuracy.
Absolutely. More data is great. We're getting a flood from many states of data since we released these forecasts last week. That's helping to improve them. We're getting much better insights into the ages affected. And with each more data, definitely better forecast.
Yeah. Dr. Murray, I really appreciate all your efforts. Dr. Chris Murray, thank you so much. And Sanjay, stay with us. I want to bring in Dr. Lena Wen, an emergency room physician, former Baltimore Health Commissioner. Dr. Wen, 100,000 to 240,000 deaths, and that's, I guess that's also assuming that all the states, or maybe it's not, maybe it's just assuming current stay-at-home orders. Dr. Murray's was 80,000 deaths, assuming all the states, within a week start to do stay-at-home orders. It's alarming.
That's right, and it very much is. And these are the optimistic estimates. That's assuming that we are doing everything, which we know that we're not. And I think just to underscore this point that we know what works. And we need to be doing that. We need to be strengthening healthcare capacity, getting tests out, but also we really need to be abiding by these social distancing guidelines. Because
I want to weigh in on what this program is talking about. First of all, proof is in the pudding that Donald Trump was in fact warned or given an advisory 5 years ago from Bill Gates that it was coming, basically. Also, I want to say that our governor, just as of today, has now put out a stay-at-home policy, the way that I understand it. In addition to various towns around here that are now putting out places as far as from sundown to sunup, not to be seen walking or even in town unless you have a real good reason for being in town. It's remarkable to think that we was at one time one of the most advanced, knowledgeable, productive nations in the world that didn't take nothing lightly and was always prepared. For some reason, this slipped through the cracks. It's just absolutely mind-boggling that a country this rich, this powerful, this strong would have allowed itself to become so vulnerable over a pandemic. Just like it's sickening to think that our nation would solely rely upon a communist-controlled country such as China to produce over 80% of our medicine and a great deal of all our machinery and etc. that they use in hospitals pertaining to advanced medical machinery. It's just absolutely remarkable that we would have allowed ourselves to have gotten in behind the 8 ball like this in one way. But in another way, I can say, you know what? I kind of halfway seen this coming. Not so much of what that we didn't do pertaining to taking care of our veterans, those that fought on the battle lines and then come back home and basically was pushed off to the curve. But for quite some times now, give or take 25, 30 years, the nursing home industry, the retirement homes have really been struggling as far as providing good, safe environments for our elderly to properly be taken care of. And if you'll combine that with the medical industry's problem pertaining to health care, and the astronomical prices, I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump done just like the past 2 or 3 administrations has done, towards, well, let's kick this problem down the road, and hopefully some other administration will deal with it professionally and promptly, because it's going to cost too much money, too much time, and instead of me being rewarded or glorified for it, pertaining to someone patting me on the back, I'll probably be punished for it, because the interest of the American people rather spend $400 million on a casino or $400 million on a coliseum so they can watch their favorite football players or their basketball players, rather than taking care of the conscientious health problems that does in fact go on in our nursing homes and throughout our healthcare system. So in one way, it floors me. In another way, I kind of halfway expected to see something like this. I didn't think that it was going to come this quick, pertaining to it being this big, as far as a catastrophe like the coronavirus. But in one way, I really am not. I'm really not shocked of the fact that it's happened to us, because of being so lax. That's the reason why here at the Windmill Ministries, we've been saying all along, good luck to all of us, good luck to all of us. We repeat that every time we get ready to end. Good luck to all of us. And we mean that. And once more, shalom and good luck to all of us. Sad.